welcome to the first episode of Getting Out of the Chair. I have here Dr. Scott Leune, who's our first guest, and I'm very excited. For those of you who know my story, there's probably not anyone out there who's had the biggest impact on my life, and I know I'm not alone. I know there's hundreds, if not thousands, of dentists out there, not a dentist, but dentists out there that has been impacted by Dr. Leune's seminar. When I first joined dental, I basically went to every single consultant seminar out there, including Breakaway. I spent a year basically taking in as much as I could. Would you agree that most of the content that's out there when it comes to practice management from a business side is not actually helpful for the dentist?
Well, yes and no. So what I see is there's some consultants or lecturers out there that themselves haven't had a large enough sample size. They've been successful in 1, 2, or 3 practices, but not 300. So the way they view the world is they think what worked for them applies to everyone else, and I don't necessarily agree with that. Then you've got another type of consultant who may know and understand their experiences, but what they say is geared around selling their own services. So there's a conflict of interest. And so they'll be talking about using certain things or products or companies because they've got a financial interest in that. And that's not good either. And that's another side. Then you've got consultants out there that have been teaching the same thing for the last 20 years. And while those things they might be good, they might be solid, we as a profession have kind of matured up from that. And those things they still preach and teach seem like common knowledge to many people that are a little bit more advanced than clueless, right? And so now when you look at today's landscape, there's a lot of those 3 out there. And what there's not a lot of is what I think Breakaway seminars is, and that is straight to the point, no conflicts, here's exactly what to do, and here's 100 of those things, exactly what to do. And those things are based on a large sample size across the country of what has worked. It is based on proven best practices, for real, not fake proven best practices, but actual proven best practices. And I bet a lot of dentists know and feel what I'm talking about. I bet a lot of dentists that are listening to this have been to the seminar or been to the state association or wherever it may be, and have listened to a speaker and told themselves, I don't agree, they're not right, or what a waste of my time, what a waste of my money, or they're just trying to sell me something, and just left with a bad taste in their mouth. Some lessons can be learned from people that have never walked in our own shoes, because they're things around communication, things around sales and marketing, maybe things around phone calls from other industries, that are business principles that we can learn. That's like one layer of learning. Things that apply to a lot of businesses, a lot of different types of businesses. But of course there's the nitty-gritty stuff, the details in dentistry. Like, what's it like to have to check someone in and check someone out and verify insurance all at the same time while the doctor's waiting on you to present finances to get case acceptance. And in that moment, what should you do and how should you do it? That needs to be based on measuring data, on measuring different systems in the dental office. And someone that has worked in a dental office understands the dynamics much better. And of course, someone that has actually measured it could get to the answer, assuming they've measured it enough.
Yeah, and how do you feel about the pricing structure? So if I'm a dentist and I need help out there, I gotta go out and hire a consultant usually. And there's a consulting fee. And that consulting fee, you gotta pay it, whether or not it works, whether or not your office grows, or whether or not, even if you did achieve an increase in production, if that increase in production translates into profits. Shouldn't consultants be compensated on how much they can grow the business of the dentist?
Maybe. So consulting, I think, is viewed incorrectly. What really consulting is, it's more like a teacher and a personal trainer. I'm going to teach you how to do it, and then I'm going to be that trainer that makes you do it. and makes you do it properly, right? I'm going to be the person that holds you accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really a consultant. So it's part like teaching you the knowledge, the information, what should you say
Mm-hmm.
to a patient, right? And then a trainer, making sure you're actually saying it, making sure your team is actually saying it. Those are the two things. Now, every dentist in every dental office has a different level of leadership. So if a dentist cannot implement anything and lead their team well, then no matter what the consultant has said or done, the success isn't going to be as good.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with what you're alluding to, that it's kind of unideal
Mm-hmm.
that a consultant is paid a fee whether there's success or not.
Mm-hmm.
And from the dentist's mind, that is not perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
From the consultant side, they don't want their fee based on a dentist's ability or inability to lead their own team either.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there probably needs to be a happy medium.
Mm-hmm.
A happy medium could be that it is just a fee, let's say a monthly fee,
Mm-hmm.
and if for whatever reason it's not working out for the dentist, they can just quit, they can leave. It's a month-to-month arrangement, and that way it takes away the risk. So the dentist is judging, is this successful? And if it is, they stay. And if it's not, for whatever reason, they go.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That could be one thing. Or another thing could be something like some sort of success fee or incentive. So, maybe there's a flat fee paid to the consultant, and if certain things are achieved, then
Mm-hmm.
there's maybe some sort of bonus
Mm-hmm.
attached to it. Neither one of those two things are very common.
Mm-hmm.
I know that in our company, we have several different consulting programs, and today we have the month-to-month arrangement. So
Mm-hmm.
if something's not working for someone,
Mm-hmm.
then they could stop.
Mm-hmm.
But again, think back to why someone hires a consultant. It should be to learn and to have accountability.
Mm-hmm.
It is not a magic bullet to fix every problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as we get more mature as dentists, we start realizing that there's strength in hiring specific types of consultants,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to maybe signing some $50,000 or $60,000 a year program that's
the low end.
all encompassing of all kinds of things that we may even not agree with.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, and don't you feel so that same concept about the pricing structure of consultants? It's my belief that not only with consultants, but other dental services that are sold to dentists, whether it's software, consulting, or anything else, that it's always priced not in the best, like the dentist is never winning with the pricing structure. It's always priced at the vendor's best convenience. And because the dentists are not business savvy enough, it's easy for them to say yes. That's kind of what I see. And I'm a big believer that this industry belongs to the dentists. If the dentist always makes more money, if the dentist always gets the best deal, then I think those companies are going to survive in the long haul, especially with what's going on right now, not just in dentistry, but also just the world of information. I think people are beginning to think more for themselves. There's so much research out there. It's just much harder to, strike a deal with someone that's not in their best interest.
Yeah, you're talking about really alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems that there's a lot of things going on in dentistry that are not aligned with the dentist.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why some dentists just have a negative view of consultants, or a negative view of other service companies or distribution companies or manufacturers. They got this negative view. They feel like everyone's out to take their last dollar that they've got in their pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's malalignment. If instead companies were aligned, meaning they only made money after the dentist received a great service,
Mm-hmm.
and potentially also made great money.
That's right.
Right? That's what we're trying to get at here.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, that's correct. And what's interesting is that, as a dentist, we have a career ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
If we learn the right information early on, or if we have the right partner, the right vendor early on, we get a career of benefit. For example, if we go to the right educational event early on in our career,
Mm-hmm.
it will shape our decisions in the future.
Mm-hmm.
If we hire the right company, to teach us how to track our numbers properly, or to teach us how to hire people better, if we learn the right information about negotiating insurance reimbursement rates early on in our career, then our entire career will be more profitable. So if we know that, if that's the goal, then we say, okay, well, how do we look at this sea of companies that are trying to get our business, and how do we filter out the noise to only focus on the ones that truly do help us, right, for our career? And that's difficult, especially today with social media. Today on Facebook, any dentist can look like an expert. Any dentist has an opinion, and anyone can say whatever they want, and we don't know how to measure it against each other. And we just got ads everywhere, and it's just very noisy. I call it Dr. Facebook. If Dr. Facebook says something, then lots of people think it's true, and it's not. It's noise. So my recommendation to dentists is to learn the business principles through educational events early on. Once they understand the business principles at a very high level, a mature level, then they're able to sift through that noise pretty quickly. And they're able to see some companies are not really preaching and teaching and doing what's in their best interests.
So if you look at the dental entrepreneurial program, if you look at the pricing structure, as well as the rewards in the end, it's a program where you come in and the consulting fee is at a minimum, probably one of the lowest out there. And if it works, if you go out there and with that knowledge and with our help, you grow your business, then you get paid more for that.
You're talking about, in our own company, we've got lots of programs. One of them is called the Dental Entrepreneur Program. And that specific program, dentists are trying to get out of the chair and build wealth through the business of dentistry. Meaning, instead of buying and selling, stock in Apple, they're building and buying and ultimately selling dental practices, right? And so yes, in our program, we support them in that. We help them. They get a very deep level of what I would call hands-on consulting for the lowest amount of money every month we could possibly charge. And in the end, they get to sell their practice at what some people would consider double value, double the street value. If our consulting works really well for them, then their valuation of their practice skyrockets. And if our consulting doesn't work as well for them, let's say it just works a little bit for them, their value still goes up, but maybe doesn't go up as much. But no matter what, it's going to be about double the street price.
Why would anyone join a $60,000, $100,000 a year program with no guarantee, no upside predictability, where they could simply join a base that's extremely affordable, and if you actually implement it, it works, you're not paying anything out, you're actually taking a big check for that work?
Yeah, I mean, this applies to dentists that would eventually like to sell their practice. So yeah, this is a very unique program where basically they are getting a ton of support, including consulting, and the more all that support works, the even higher their practice value is, and when it's all said and done, they get a big check in the mail for selling their practice at a huge valuation. I mean, any dentist looking to sell their practice needs to understand the details of what I've just said, because they could literally double the value of the practice if they do it this way. Now, for dentists that aren't wanting to sell their practice and they're just wanting to grow their location or locations they have now, then obviously they're not getting a big check in the end, right? They're not selling. So they are paying for consulting. But I would hope that whatever consulting they would use is structured in a way where they are consistently making back the fees and then some, right? So the way we approach it is when we perform consulting, one of the things we do is we clean up their financials and we find all the bloated costs and the waste they have currently in the practice. So we attack the wasted costs to free up at least as much profit as what our program even charge them.
Mm-hmm.
So right off the bat, the program to them is almost free.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything else we do for them, raising their new patient flow and increasing their hygiene productivity and cleaning up their accounts receivables and all those other things we boost up for them, that is now just pure profit for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, that is a well-aligned program.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm a dentist and I hire a consultant, help me immediately, as quick as possible, get more profit to just pay for you.
That's right.
And then once you're paid for, awesome. Now, let's hold me accountable and teach me what we need to do to clean up the rest of the practice to achieve more success.
Mm-hmm.
Then it doesn't cost me anything,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's good financial alignment.
Do you think a dentist nowadays should get educated and should rethink the thought of not wanting to sell the practice given where the industry is at? And when I say every dentist, I mean every practice owner. So if you're an associate, of course not, but if you're a practice owner, should you really just turn a blind eye and say, I don't want to sell because of the negative connotation? Or should you at least look and get educated and reconsider that decision?
Yeah, look, whether we like to admit it or not, we are two things. We are a dentist clinically, and we're an entrepreneur on the business side,
Mm-hmm.
when we own a dental office.
Mm-hmm.
So just like we stay educated, we have to, according to, of course, the state, to keep our license, we have to stay clinically educated.
Mm-hmm.
We also have a responsibility to our financial health to stay educated on the business side.
Mm-hmm.
And on all aspects, maybe we don't want to sell because we don't understand what that now means.
That's right.
Or we don't want to sell because we don't truly understand what's happening today.
That's right.
So yeah, I believe every dentist, actually, not just owners, but every dentist should be educated as much as possible on both sides, the clinical side and the business side.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'd like to add, though, that I think a lot of dentists are chasing something that's unattainable.
Mm-hmm.
So, I kind of joke sometimes at the seminars where I think a lot of dentists on their tombstone, when they die and they're buried, on their tombstone it should read dentist. Because that's what they lived to be.
That was their life, yeah.
That was their life, dentist. And I believe that, now we're kind of talking philosophically.
Should we say
here,
general dentist, specialist dentist, or just dentist?
No, I mean, philosophically here, I believe that if we better define what we're trying to achieve outside of dentistry, it will help guide and motivate our business decisions inside of dentistry.
Mm-hmm.
So if we had a dentist who was, let's just say, collecting $1.5 million in their practice, and after paying themselves as a dentist and paying all their bills, the amount of money left over, so after their salary is paid, all the amount of money left over from that $1.5 million practice is, let's just call it $300,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That dentist may not want to sell because they're trying to just make more money and more money and more money. But if they had a life issue come up, if something becomes more important than dental, if someone were to hand them $2 million to buy their $1.5 million practice, they would probably jump on that, do it, and go take care of the personal side. But because they weren't ready and understood how to get $2 million for a $1.5 million practice, they never went down that path. And they just stayed as a dentist. And eventually they died a dentist. So, it's interesting because right now we all think in our own box. We all assume there's boundaries to what's possible. But those boundaries are built purely on what we've learned, not on reality. So if a dentist takes business education as seriously as they take clinical education, their box will expand and they will understand that there's a lot more options to them, including things that might sound unattractive today. It's important that they learn about them because they may connect a few dots tomorrow that they would have never connected had they not learned about it. So for example, a new grad, that is taught how to build and sell practices and make $1 million profit each time, suddenly might say, you know what, I'm going to go do this 3 times, pay off all my debt, school debt and personal debt, and then I'm going to have a wonderful life after that and do the dentistry I want to do on a limited schedule and focus on my family. Mm-hmm. But they would have never thought about building and selling practices early in their career had they never been taught how mm-hmm. and why. Mm-hmm. Right? So we got to be focused on business.
So what's your prognosis? What do you think is going to happen to the dentists who, like I said, they got their eyes shut and they're saying, I'm not even entertaining the idea of selling. So they're not getting educated on why they should sell. What's in 10 or 20 years? Mm-hmm. What is the cost of closing their eyes today?
Well, I don't want to, it should not sound dramatic, okay? Mm-hmm. So dentists can be successful in so many different ways. You don't have to sell to be successful. But understanding the dynamics behind selling practices is important to always maximize mm-hmm. your success, to make the best decision you can make. So, if a dentist doesn't understand and doesn't want to learn about the sales side of dentistry, then they're going to miss a lot of opportunities and they're probably going to go down paths potentially that aren't as good. Mm-hmm. They might wake up 10 years from now and realize practices are worth a lot less mm-hmm. than they are today. Mm-hmm. Today, it is a seller's market. Mm-hmm. We've got some of the major DSOs that are starting to make changes. Mm-hmm. They used to buy practices, but now they're focused mainly on starting practices. Mm-hmm. We've got profit margins in dentistry that are shrinking. We've got income levels for dentists that are stagnant, they're flat. For mm-hmm. the last 13 years, they've been flat. Mm-hmm. And what all of that, and the cost of capital is going to go up. Interest rates are going to go up. All of these things point to hitting a tipping point where practice valuations will start going down. Mm-hmm. All those signs, in my mind, are predicting the value of a practice will be less. Mm-hmm. So, and right now, we're at the point where it's like the golden age of selling a practice. Mm-hmm. If you understand how to buy practices, and you understand how to build them with financial success, then suddenly buying and building and having 3 or 4 practices where I, the dentist, am only working 2 days a week total across those 4 locations, just placing implants. Mm-hmm. Suddenly that might seem really attractive to me because I make good money, I've got a limited schedule, I'm doing what I love, and I can take vacation whenever I want because I've got other associate dentists that are operating day-to-day in the practice. And knowing that it's the golden age of selling practices, it might also make a lot of sense for me to have 3 or 4 to eventually sell mm-hmm. so that I have financial security for my family. Mm-hmm. In my mind, the quickest way to get out of debt and to have a lot of life choices mm-hmm. is to build wealth. Mm-hmm. And in dentistry, building wealth is many times quickest through owning and selling dental offices, businesses, mm-hmm. as opposed to cutting more and more teeth. Mm-hmm. But we can do both. Mm-hmm. No matter what, though, you got to learn about it. Everyone's got to learn about it. It doesn't take a big investment of time and money to learn exactly what's going on.
When we talk about dental entrepreneurs, Dr. Leune was one. And Dr. Leune has built 10 practices over the course of his career and sold them. My question to you is, do you ever wonder how things would have looked like if you had done that under the dental entrepreneur program versus how you did it, where there was absolutely no help, no infrastructure out there?
Well, yeah, I mean, I lost and made millions, mm-hmm. but the losing of the millions was very painful. Mm-hmm. I got health problems, I had stresses in my life. I joked that I got fat, gray, and wrinkly mm-hmm. at times. And I was very limited, even though someone might say, gosh, building and selling 10 practices in the first, it ended up being 7 or 8 years, I guess, of my career mm-hmm. is a lot, right? But looking back, it could have been a lot easier and a lot more. Mm-hmm. Had I known back then what a dental entrepreneur is taught now, mm-hmm. and had I received back then the help with accounts receivables and insurance negotiations, and had my HR questions answered, and had someone looking at my financial statements and finding bloated costs and teaching me how many staff I need in any given office, or how to manage my capacity, or had call center support. I mean, all kinds of things today I just didn't have. So, I had to bleed through this success. And dental entrepreneurs today don't.
Well, let's talk about that, because that's where I was leading at. If you're sitting at the mastermind that we just completed and you're learning about the program as a dentist, as a member of a dental entrepreneurs program, what would your strategy be?
Yeah, so you're talking about an outside dentist comes and learns.
No, I'm talking about Dr. Leune.
Oh.
Like you're sitting there knowing what you know today. How would Dr. Leune attack what he's hearing to his own situation?
Okay. I would start with why I want financial success. Sounds like a dumb question maybe, but no, specifically why? Because I need to feel what life is like when I hit that finish line to give me the direction and the drive to actually do it. So I would start with, why? Because I want to be debt free, because I want to be, my kids need to be at the school I want them at, I want to have the house I want and the lifestyle I want, and I want to have money in the bank where now I am not compromising my lifestyle, right? Whatever that is. I start with a why. Then I say, okay, if that's my why, how am I going to get there? And knowing what I know, it's going to be highly likely I'm going to get there by building and buying practices and eventually selling them. And so, that's what I would do. And going through that, how would I, attack it, as you said? I would do a blend of an acquisition and a startup model. So the breakaway startup model, we would expect at year 3 to collect 1.9 million, right? That's our number. And so I would go down the path of a breakaway startup model for startups, meaning demographically it has to make sense. It's a small footprint, small cost base, 5 or 6 out practice. It's going to be high-end feel and look. And of course, everything's going to have quality dentistry. While we're doing that startup, I would look at acquisitions, and preferably I would be buying tiny little practices to merge together using our model of mergers, or I would be buying extremely successful practices, as big as possible, that I could help maintain and improve a little bit. And so I would go about that, and I would do as many as I could within the boundaries of, can I get financing, and can I manage clinical quality properly, and can I manage financial health properly? So those are the boundaries I don't want to break. So the speed I go always has to fit inside of those boundaries. And of course, knowing what I know now, I see that a lot of what keeps people from doing what I just said is just procrastination. The time to do the right thing is always right now. It's never, I'm going to think about it and someday do it. Like, if it's the right thing, it's actually right this second it has to be done. So, like, if I'm sitting, I don't know if I should own multiple practices. I don't own any practices right now. What should I do? I want to be financially successful. I know eventually I probably do need to own a practice. Oh, that statement, I know eventually I probably do need to own a practice. That statement means I need to own one right now. Now, not wait. I'm not going to work for a DSO and have kids and buy a home and be kind of solidified and stuck in my situation. No, right now is the time to buy the next practice.
So most of our dental entrepreneurs, they have one location. They're in the chair. And they come to us, and they're usually not at the revenue or EBITDA level that they're supposed to hit. And within 6 months to a year, after we boost the practice and we enhance it, we get them to the 1 million to 1.2 mark at the 15% minimum EBITDA level. So we've cleaned the house, and now they're thinking, all right, it's time to expand. And a lot of the questions that I get is, all right, now that I've got my house in order, am I expanding via the startup route or am I expanding via the merger and acquisition route? Now, I know that answer has a lot to do, not a lot to do, some to do with where they are. You know, what kind of city they are, what kind of market they are. But let's just put this dentist in the general market, in the average of probabilities. Does it make more sense for them to do a startup for your second location where, you know, a $500,000 or $550,000 investment over 3 to 5 years is going to have much more return? Or should they follow the M&A model of the 12 rules where it's a safe, predictable investment? What is their second step given a normal market where their first practice is already successful?
Yeah, so just so people know, you said M&A. If you don't know, it stands for mergers and acquisitions. So M&A, are we merging or buying practices? Okay, so your question, what's better, startup or acquisition? And you
not in general, in that specific scenario.
Yeah, I mean, you alluded to the fact that startups, when done properly, have a very good long-term potential return on investment. If we can hit 1.9 million in year 3 in a small practice and it be very profitable, that's great. And on top of that, it's in an ideal location, it's got new equipment, it's all digital, it's got the team we hired, the team we dentists we trained, right? That is ideal. The short term is the issue with the startup. Because we know startups will not make a whole lot of cash and they may lose money in the beginning. And so we're acquiring a practice would, if done properly, will cash flow in the beginning. So it's really, I believe, a function of, are we going to take a short-term risk or a long-term risk? If we want to reduce risks in the short term, we're going to lean more heavily on buying practices that make sense. And if we want to have kind of a shorter term risk but have more ideal situation long term, we might do more startups.
What should we do? Should I be taking more risks in that second location? Should I be safer?
If someone is connected to infrastructure that supports them, then it's probably not going to be that black and white. It's probably going to be how are the demographics, how ideal are they for a startup versus what's for sale. And you know, if they have a timeline that's 3 years or more, it's probably going to be more advantageous to do a startup in most situations than an acquisition. But you know, we're assuming you can't do both. I mean, if it were me personally, I would just do both. I would buy a cash flowing practice and I would utilize that cash flow to help mitigate the losses of a startup. And as I get stronger financially, I would probably lean more heavily on startups in the long term because they make a lot of sense for so many reasons. You know, it's interesting because a lot of success is just achieved by actually doing it. You know, like do it. Like there's a ton of people doing extremely well financially, doing startups and doing acquisitions. It's very possible, right? The knowledge is not rocket science. You need support. We got all that. Dentists should then do it.
Just participate in the game.
You know, what's the worst thing that can happen? Think about this.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah.
They'll be a dentist.
Yeah. I mean, they'll be back to where they are today.
They'll have to walk away from whatever practice they own, and they'll be a dentist, and they'll make $200,000 or more.
Which is
you know,
where they are
that's
today.
the worst thing that can happen. What's the best thing that can happen? They can be financially free for the rest of their life. Look, we can make great money as an associate. It's not about having enough or not having enough. It's about what our goals are. What are we trying to achieve? Some of us, we're fine making $100,000 a year as a dentist. And some of us, we really want, or even, for heaven forbid, need to go make $3 or $4 million as quickly as possible. You know, both ways, we have to do what's great for the profession and what's great for patients. We have to be clinically sound, and we can never cross an ethical line. Then after that, we gotta be smart on the business side, make good choices, and hit our goals, hopefully, whatever they may be. And I hate that it's taboo to talk about making money. I hate that it's taboo to talk about making a whole lot of money. It shouldn't be. You know, it's just a choice. People choose to make a lot of money or not. It's not a gift. It's not luck. It's a choice. It's a choice to make more money. Many times more money comes with more risk. many times more money comes with more hardship. So it's a choice. Do we want to have the risk and have the hardship and make more money or not? And of course, in any choice, there's a smart way to choose and there's a not so smart way to choose, right? I hope no one's offended about us talking about making $1 million. I want my kids to understand what it takes to make 100 grand and what it takes to make 1 million and 10 million and 100 million and 1 billion. And I want them to be fully informed and they can choose. And I'm going to try to guide their principles, their values. Because I don't measure life success with a dollar sign. So that's how I look at it.
All right, so we're running out of time. Dr. Leune, thanks again. As a last closing statement, do you have a specific message that you want to send out?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to be successful, obviously. There's a lot of people trying to tell us what to do. I think that, again, we need to start with what are we trying to accomplish? And then, is making money going to get us there faster or not? And if the answer is yes, then as quickly as possible, do something and learn how to do it. Learn how to make more money the right way. I'm sure we'll talk more in future episodes, but this was kind of an introduction into maybe the philosophy behind building wealth in dentistry. But there's a lot of things to talk about. We could talk about how we replaced ourselves in a practice so that we could have multiple locations, or we could talk about even the operations of a practice. What are the things we can do on the business side to clean up the stresses or to cut out the waste? And clinically, what are some things we need to think about? I mean, there's all kinds of information to be learned. So people listening to this, I urge you to learn. I urge you to learn immediately, right now. Don't waste your time watching Game of Thrones on Netflix or HBO, excuse me. Don't waste your time taking a course on bonding agent or going on a cruise course or something. Go learn right now exactly what influences your success in the dental practice. Right now. Don't cut another tooth. Learn. And from there, have an open mind. There's a lot of ways to do this well, but you have to learn first what those ways are like before you can make an informed decision on what to do next.
Perfect. Well, thanks again. As you said there, we're going to be doing more episodes with Dr. Leune talking about specific things. This was more of a general discussion. So I look forward to doing that, and we'll talk next time.
Awesome. Thank you.